Okay, so welcome everybody. This is Tara from Inspired Outcomes. My husband and I own a company in Guelph, Ontario, and we have been putting together these little talks at 11 o'clock. We're just doing quick little addressing issues that people are dealing with right now in this COVID-19 time, and we're using some NLP approaches about how you might want to be able to, hi Omar, how you are able to best address some of this stuff. So today I'm talking about uncertainty. So uncertainty is something that we are likely almost globally sharing right now. So some of us, everything feels uncertain right now. For some people, I've been paying lots of attention to what people have been saying online. And for some people, it really seems as though everything is upside down, right? Their family life, their careers, certainly their finances, their own ability to be able to make it through this, not to mention their own health, their own safety, the safety and the health of their friends or family. And so with all of those uncertainties happening right now, I wanted to just bring some information to that. It's really, really interesting when we think about how uncertainty works. Uncertainty is a perfect process of our brains to be wired that way. So uncertainty for us means that our brain is basically looking around our situation, assessing our environment, and saying, holy shit, man, we're in trouble. Because uncertainty means that you're in trouble. Because if you can take this out of context, and I want you to imagine, if you have something that happens, so there's something that happens out there, and when the thing happens, you can't figure out what's going on. You can't figure out what the conclusive certainty is. And so your brain ends up in this place where it starts to almost panic, because as a human being, your chances of survival are taking a deep dive when you're dealing with uncertainty. Imagine if you were yourself in the jungle, because you're a jungle being, and if you're in a jungle and you understand what is going on around you, so keeping in mind 90% of your brain is still running the same way that a reptile brain is running. It's meant to keep you alive. And so imagine you're in a jungle, and what you know around you is that these berries here are going to be good and nutritious for you, and those berries over there, they're going to kill you. And that little furry guy over there behind that tree is your friend. He's no problem to you. But that one that you hear coming behind you and you smell, that one is actually a predator that is going to hunt you. You need to know where the water is. You need to know where the drinking water is compared to the other water. In these situations, your brain knows that if you don't know these things, you're in danger. And so it seeks certainty. And it really doesn't care, even though we have this human development of our prefrontal cortex that causes us to feel feelings about these things. The greater part of what's driving us really doesn't care. What it wants to know is this certain or is this not? Is this good for me or is it not? If you took that same jungle person and dropped them into a jungle where they didn't know these things. So imagine now that you're in the jungle, but this time, you don't know if that food over there, it's unfamiliar to you, and you don't know if it's going to kill you or if it's going to nourish you. And you don't know if that animal over there that's looking at you weird is about to attack you or not. And you don't know where the closest water source is, and you don't know if it's, got crocodiles or salt water or whatever. You're in trouble, right? And so your brain is just driving you every single time something happens in your environment to seek certainty. And if you happen to feel bad about, that little creature over there, the fact that you may want to be its friend, because that would make you feel, connected and, happy, and you'd be able to have fun. Your bigger brain that's driving you doesn't care about that. It doesn't care how you feel about it. It just wants to know, is it a friend or is it not a friend? And so every single time we're in a situation, so if any of you were listening to us last Friday, I believe we talked about that situation, if somebody looks at me funny, my brain says, okay, I don't know what that's about, and it feels really unsafe not knowing what that's about. Because your brain is wired to protect you. And so your brain is going to say to you, okay, you know what I would prefer? Rather than staying in uncertainty, I'm going to go ahead and make up the best plausible case, and I'm going to believe that. And because I believe that certainty, even if it makes your feelings feel bad, or even if it hits your self-esteem and makes you feel, bad about yourself, that's very, very minor according to your brain compared to being unsafe. And so it's going to grab onto whatever it can feel most certain about and say, okay, that's good. And your brain actually really likes for there to be clear black and white. It likes good guy, bad guy. It likes to know this is at fault, this is not, this is good, this is bad, because it makes it much easier to feel certain. And as soon as we feel certainty in ourselves, now we feel safe again. And as a human being, we are wired to seek safety, to seek survival above all else. So you can imagine if that's going on for every one of us, and if you have a human brain, I promise you that's going on, that right now are times when people are feeling unbalanced, people are feeling unsafe, and they're looking for certainty. So here's a bunch of the things I would suggest. I have a few written down that I will squeeze into this sort of 15 minutes that we have. So the first one is to recognize that that's happening. So just as far as a very simple hack goes, just acknowledge that your brain is doing what it's meant to do. Don't fight it, don't resist it. It's your brain saying, okay, I want to feel safe right now. So once you bring your awareness to that process, you can interfere. You can now say to your brain, okay, so certainty is what we're looking for, but I don't have enough information. None of us know in terms of the COVID, none of us know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know whether or not our family who are not showing symptoms are or aren't, or the person on the street for that matter. And so trying to find a sense of safety or certainty within that can be overwhelming if we don't realize that what we're seeking is an answer that is impossible to have. It is really possible, however, if we recognize that there are certain things that we can get certainty around. So I would encourage you to stop seeking just like letting your mind do whatever your mind does without your conscious awareness, because that's where the overwhelming sense of unsafety comes from. However, this is what I would suggest. You can actually get certainty from So if you find the things that you can be certain about, so this would be things like you do know that if you stay inside your own house and you don't go outside, and if you have the capacity or whatever your situation is, then that is something that may be able to give you certainty. You also have certain areas of your own life, right? You're the one that's in charge of your own emotional state, right? So if you decide that you're going to look for opportunities and step into a place of possibility within yourself, that's your choice. That's something that you can be certain about. We always say that you don't have the fortune in this life of going to bed every night feeling certain and safe about things that are unpredictable and outside of our control. But you can go to bed at night every single night deciding to be whatever you want to be. So if you want to be a person who is generous and compassionate, if you want to be a person who is brave and courageous, that is your choice. That is something that you get to go to bed. No matter what the circumstances are around you, you can respond to them this way. The other thing I want to mention is some of this stuff, with NLP, we're always working with the unconscious processes that are happening in our mind. The submodalities, the pictures, the sounds, the images. And so unbeknownst to us, we're always dealing with these unconscious processes that are happening in and around our mind that often are a really, really strong indicator of how we feel. And when we bring our awareness there, you can have much more control than you normally expect to have over these things. So here's one thing to try. So there's something called aligning perceptual positions, and I believe it was Steve Andreas or Connie Ray Andreas or perhaps Tamara who came up with this. I believe it was Steve Andreas who did aligning perceptual positions first. And so I'm just saying that as a source. I've modified it a little bit in this circumstance. So what I'd like you to notice is that when you have information coming towards you, so I may hear somebody call to me, and unconsciously I'm hearing their voice, right? It comes into my awareness and I can hear it. I also, when I speak, I have an awareness that my voice is resonating. But what I might not be noticing, and I would suggest probably most of you are not noticing, because it's not a normal, natural way to notice. But this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to think about a situation where you may have felt some sort of stress. So a stressful situation that involves yourself and someone else. It could even be something like the news, like a television coming at you. It could be actual people. It could be anything. And as you think about that situation, I'd like you to acknowledge whatever the emotion is that you feel. So if it caused you to feel fear or stress, if it caused you to question yourself, I want you to notice where in your body you most strongly feel that sensation. Okay, so just notice that there is a response. And it might be a mild response. It might be something a little bit more intense. But wherever you notice that feeling, you can just say to yourself, you may notice that it's in your head. When that happens, you get this feeling here. Or you may feel it in your chest. You may feel it in your stomach. Wherever you feel it, just bring your awareness there and notice that it's there. Some of you may really easily actually notice that there's a size, a shape, a color to the feeling. And if it's not coming to you right away, I'm going to point out that you probably know where it isn't. Like, I can assure you that when I feel fear, I don't feel it as if it's like a pink triangle in my right knee. I feel it right here, right? I feel it like in this core of me. So just bring your awareness to whatever that feeling is, and then temporarily we're just going to set that aside. And then I want you to notice whatever the sound was or is in that situation. As you notice the sound coming in, I want you to notice where you actually hear the sound coming in. So sometimes, without realizing it, what happens is that we actually, rather than hearing the sound in our actual ears, having it come into our ears and hear it in our eardrums, it's as if sometimes we hear the sound like in our chest. It's like someone's word. People use ways of describing, their word was like a sword through my heart. Or, they said it and it's something in the pit of my stomach. So I want you just to notice where you actually hear the sound coming from. And then I want you to notice too, where you're seeing from. So are you actually seeing from where your eyes are? Or is it as if somehow you're seeing from a greater, some people feel sometimes as they look at the situation in their mind's eye, that it's as if it's all around them or it's bigger, and they're seeing it from deep within their head, or they're seeing it from some other perspective. And I want you to notice as you think about that situation too, where do you recall your voice feeling as if it's coming from? Some people feel it coming from their chest up through their throat, out their mouth. And sometimes people actually hear their own voice as if it only comes right from here. Sometimes people feel as if their own voice is somehow coming from outside of them. As you think about that situation, just notice where your own voice seems to be coming from. And then I want you to bring this together. So I want you to reimagine, to clear that all away right now. And I want you to imagine the same situation. So this is a situation where you may have felt stress. You may have felt fear. You may have felt some other emotion that is unwanted or unpleasant for you. So what you're going to do this time is you're going to reimagine the situation, but this time you're going to make sure that what you see comes right into your eyes and only your eyes. That you are seeing just from your eyes. And that whatever it is you are seeing, you see in a perspective that is realistic. And then hear the sounds and have the sounds come right into your own ears. Nowhere else. Just into your ears. And if you are responding to this in some way, have your own voice come from your voice box up through your throat and out your mouth. And if there's somebody else in this situation, notice that their voice is also coming from their chest, their voice box up through their throat and out their mouth and nowhere else, landing in your ears inside your eardrums. And now I want you to notice that that feeling that you originally felt, wherever it is in your body, I want you to put it somewhere in your body, somewhere around your center of gravity, which is just below your belly button, just sort of in that area. And make sure that that emotion there is actually centered right inside your body. Lower than your belly button, just at your center of gravity. And when you notice the situation from this perspective, what you're going to notice is that there is an incredible sense of balance and grounding now in this situation. So you'll notice now that as you replay or re-experience this situation, what's happening is that because, I'm going to stand up to show you, because your center of gravity holds the emotion, and because your voice is coming from your chest, and because you're hearing just in your ears and you're seeing just in your eyes, what it does is it opens up your whole core, the core of you, to hold your own values, your own beliefs. It allows for you to operate your response, knowing that all of this is on the periphery. All of this is the information that's coming in. And how you can respond to this is to check in with yourself. Check into your own core values, your own core beliefs, and re-experience that situation. And as you notice that situation, your sense of power, your sense of being able to recognize that this is a situation that no matter how difficult it may be, how uncertain it is, you have a tremendous amount of control. Elissa said so beautiful, she feels better. There's so much power in you. So the thing that we have in these times of uncertainty is we have our own ability to tap in, to stay in a place where there's curiosity, stay in a place where rather than trying to seek certainty in areas where there is no certainty, where we have to basically go in and trust ourselves. We don't know what's going to happen globally. We don't know when this is going to come to an end or how bad it's going to get before it gets there. We're not sure when our jobs are going to be available to us again or how we're going to get through. But when you separate that, and every single time you meet uncertainty, if you can be courageous enough to resist that temptation, because your brain, remember, your brain will reward you for coming up with a certainty whether it is true or not. Because your brain, of course, as we keep mentioning, your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. It doesn't know. So if you imagine a scenario where you feel certain, even if it's not based on real truth, your brain is going to reward you for that because it feels safer, even if it's false. And it's actually going to give you all sorts of chemical responses, regardless of how it makes you feel. The emotion is secondary, and you don't want to get in that situation. You don't want to be at the mercy of this sort of instinctual response because you have the human experience of this big prefrontal cortex that can actually bring to it things that are beyond that, things we have developed. We have resilience like we've never had before, not in any other animal. Do we have the capacity to be able to do something, fail, reassess, try again, change a nuance, assess our situation? In the same way that we did all of those things, you can also take the actual fear, recognize how you're feeling it, and move it away. I will often say to myself, if I'm feeling overwhelmed with fear, like I'm worried about, my kids, not really, because I think it's kind of funny. But if there's something that I'm really fearful about, I'll feel it all around me. And rather than just letting it be there and just allowing myself to be at the mercy of this fear, that when I bring my awareness and say, where am I actually experiencing it? It's like this big green giant haze that's settled all around me. Well, that's not serving me very well, is it? So without dismissing it at all, I can actually just bring my awareness, take the fear, and just sort of push it away. And normally I'll change its color a bit. I might turn it into a purple bouncy thing over here that I can just keep there. I can still see it. If it's important, I'll still keep my awareness on it. But now it's at a distance from me where I can get into that state where I say, okay, anything relating to this fear, I'm going to listen to what there is to listen to. I'm going to hear it in my ears, see it from my eyes, nowhere else. I'm going to feel what I feel here. I'm going to listen to myself from my own voice, and I'm going to assess this fear over here from a place within me where I check in with my own values and my own beliefs. And that does a tremendous amount for taking control. The last thing I just want to leave you with this is to respond to uncertainty with a trust within yourself. Don't allow yourself to be tricked into finding uncertainty in places where it doesn't exist. Instead, separate them. Find the things you can be certain about, that you can have ownership about, that you can predict the outcome by your own behavior, by your own actions. And then take the things that you don't have certainty about and trust yourself at the deepest levels. Recognize that you have resilience. You have the capacity to believe in an outcome that you can deal with, that you can handle, that no matter how negative it gets or no matter how difficult it gets, find the resources within yourself or figure out how to get the resources outside of yourself to be able to respond to it. So the answer to uncertainty is trust. And I'm going to leave you with that. So tomorrow it will be Alan and I back. If you have any questions about this at all, leave them in the comments or email us. Also, guys, we have a brand new website that we just launched last night, and we would love for you guys to go see our website. It's brand new, and we would love feedback. And again, we're always doing free consults. So if anybody found this difficult, or if they felt as if their fears were too hard to overcome, just book a free consult with any of us. We're taking time to just talk to people. We're experts in anxiety and uncertainty and fear, and we can help. So give us a call, and I look forward to talking to you.